You're listening to the Who is Christine Anyway podcast season 2. Today's guest is award-nominated actor and musician Brandon Wheeler. Enjoy.
Okay, so hi, Brandon Wheeler.
Hi, Christine. How are you?
I'm so good. I haven't seen you in 3 seconds since I hit record. Otherwise, I think in person you haven't. When did you move from New York State? You were a minute ago.
Yeah, it was a couple years now.
Really?
Yep.
I feel like you were here, you were in my feed, and then gone. And you had this amazing, acting career, budding. And I mean, to me, it's budding, but it's probably been always existent beneath your, musical type thing. Because I met you when you were in Blaming Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Right? Something like that. And then I kind of kept following you throughout all your kind of bands. I mean, I guess that's kind of how that works. It's just connecting with someone and then kind of following them through all of their projects. But how did you transition from Syracuse, New York to North Carolina, from band to actor, or maybe are you still in the both?
Yeah. So it started out with from New York to North Carolina, it was a job decision. So the company that I work for wanted me to move to North Carolina and run the operation. And I was like, I've always had a thought of going to North Carolina and was thinking about moving down there anyways. And I just really can't do the snow anymore and the cold. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do it. So
just took the gig.
Yeah, took the gig, came down. I've been down here for a couple of years now. The band started. I mean, that was the end of. I was in this band, Granny Four Barrel. Remember that one?
Oh, I don't. Keep talking about that. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so I was in this band, Granny Four Barrel, with a singer dressed up as an old lady.
Okay, now I remember that. Okay. As soon as you said singer, old lady, I was like, okay.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun band. And it was towards the end of that transitioning is where, I learned a lot about, I guess, who I am as a musician and versus where I should have been and how I should have gone and done things. And when you're in a producer's recording studio, you kind of have to not really say anything, just do it, And
Why?
A couple of things.
Why do you feel that way? Why do you feel like you don't have a say with your producers? Do you think maybe that may be a poor choice of producer, or was it because you were a hired gun, or was it because you felt as if you were just the player, not the composer?
So good question. Yeah. So I was a hired gun for the project. So as far as I really had no say in anything, but I have a big mouth and sometimes, I'm just like,
not you. No, you've always been so quiet and passive. You don't make me look mousy, not one fucking bit.
Yeah, no, so I don't know. There's some things that were happening when we were recording. I was just like, well, why are we doing this? It didn't make any sense to me. Previously when we already recorded 4 songs originally in Atlanta with a producer, and we got wind up from a management company when we were down in Miami, I believe, or somewhere in Florida. I can't remember. And, they wanted us to sign with them, and part of the deal was to work with another producer, and then, their management, and the singer were like, yeah, we're going to do this. So, and we already went on tour, multiple tours to promote all these songs like Free Flag, and there's a song, Guns, that was directed by Stormy Daniels. So we already did all these tours to promote these songs that were already out actively, So when they said that we're going to re-record them, it just didn't make sense to me, if we wanted to re-record a song that we didn't put out there in the world, then sure, I get it. But it just sounded, it just didn't make sense, you know? So we're re-recording songs that were already on Spotify and Apple and, you know, thousands of views on YouTube and going to playing Sturgis events. And I was just like, wow, this is not my business, but I wouldn't have done that. So, you know, I kind of mentioned something like that, you know, why are we re-recording these songs, you know?
Yeah. Were they remastered or anything, or were they just like, hey, we're just going to do it under this? I mean, there might have been something behind the scenes that you didn't see too, like in the contracts and the litigation and the streaming. And I know, especially, you know, I can understand people remastering things. Well, when people re-upload to Spotify, if it's remastered, if it's another version, if it's this, it still has to reach that. I think it's like 7,000 play threshold before it even begins to be considered for payout now, which I think is, I mean, I've got several opinions and all of them end in bullshit. So I think it's kind of redundant, maybe, to kind of do it. I mean, I could understand if like, okay, we're going to switch genre styles each time, or this is, but you also do see that with a lot of artists too, when they take a song and they'll remix it, or they'll remix it and they'll add something new, or okay, more cowbell, okay, more tambourine, okay, now we're going to make it an EDM thing. You know, that does happen quite a bit, and I can understand that because if you do that each time in a different genre, it shows up on different playlists. But the curation of becoming popular in streaming platforms is usually done primarily, hi, puppy. Oh, you got a dog. 2 dogs.
Yeah.
Fuck music. Let's talk about dogs.
Are we going to go for walkies? Want to go for walkies?
I thought you were asking me if I wanted to go for a walkie.
You want to go for a walkie?
Outside.
Come on, go, Gavin.
It's fucking cold.
Go, Gavin. Go walkies.
So yeah, I mean, I can understand, back on topic. I know sometimes it makes sense because if you switch, and so cute, I look ridiculous. I'm so glad this is a podcast because like my eyes are lit up.
Yeah, you look nice.
Next time I'm going to request an interview with the dog. Like, hi, I'd like to interview your dog.
Yeah. Well.
Wow.
Go ahead, go walkies.
Easily distracted by cute animals. Let's just put that on that.
They're cute. They're
so cute. And they were so happy to see you. That's so adorable. So, yeah, I mean, I can understand, like, switching genres, remixing. There's several things that come into play, especially in streaming. Re-releasing. It all kind of gets so mucky, murky, and bullshitty after a while. And it depends if it's, like, self-released or if it's, like, label redone or anything like that. There's so many, what's the term? Hands at play, things at play that go into marketing it. Like, cool, sure. If you recorded it and, you know, we'll say Stormy Daniels actually was doing like a cameo on it, then sure, that would actually work and hit more of the, you know, the SEO with the, especially with the political Joe thing going on, you know, it would make more sense. It really would. But it, you know, kind of gets redundant after a while. But you do see a lot of artists do that. You do see, like, how do I explain it? Sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes it is. Like Chapel Roan had released Pink Pony Club years ago. Nobody even knew that. She re-releases it, and now it's a hit because it's under different whatever. I mean, fantastic that one producer didn't give up on her. But that re-record makes sense, but there's not like 6 of them. Or maybe there is, and that's the only one that made the airwaves. But
yeah, so this would be more or less like if we did a rendition of the song that was already recorded. So for example, like let's say, you know,
that's cockeyed if I ever saw it. That's just like, wasting studio time.
You know, yeah, that's what I thought. But like I fall in reverse. They did they just did a song, you know. They released it. It's wonderful actually. And it's the Papa Roach song. You know, as Last Resort.
The reimagined version, though.
A reimagined version. So
that's coming out. Atreyu did a whole thing of reimagined songs too. Look that up.
Yeah.
That's becoming. Remember, it's kind of like if you look at music history through time. Like obviously you have your genre switches and stuff, but like it's like a slow burn of differences when people start going, oh, we can transcend styles and genres and time measures, and you don't necessarily have to be like an ace in music theory to start playing around with that. It's like, oh wow, like that sounds amazing on piano. Like when you mix pianos into metal, it's fantastic. It adds such depth and such like, I don't want to say innovative because it's not that innovative. It adds such a depth of emotion into the music that nobody really can understand. Same thing like when you listen to those songs that have like string quartets and whatnot, the amount of depth that adds in. However, when you go to like, I want to say speed metal, punk rock, all those harsher ones, I fucking hate when they go into the studios and they polish it. Like, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I get it. Polishing is necessary. But like, if you look at Alkaline Trio, give me their old shit any day. Give it to me. I love the raspiness. I love the rawness of it, the crudeness of it. Like, that's what I go there for. Same thing, like Polar Bear Club. Who else is it? Balance and Composure. Their older stuff. I really like the rawness of it. Like, if you throw a string quartet in that, it's trash. But if you look at it for what it is, as raw, it's fantastic. But if you go into metal, you can pull in classical notes. But
yeah,
I don't know.
But it was like, you know,
my
Granny Four Barrel. Granny had like this real redneck feel listening to it with metal, you know, and then it was reimagined, like, you know, if Rob Zombie were to do the song. You know, so it was just like,
I love Rob Zombie,
and it's the same. Work. I do too. It's just like it's the same lyrics to this there. You know what I mean? The structure is the same. They just reimagined the song to fit instead of redneck metal to more of like an industrial.
That's amazing. Yeah. And then you did something else too. It was like something you were like a butcher, right?
I was, yeah. I was a butcher. There was a judge, and then there was a maestro. There's a fiddle player in there.
That sounds like my dating history.
Yeah, different. Get the whole aspects of the. And
I was like, listen, I'm gonna need the entire fucking cast and crew.
I need everyone.
Variety.
Yeah. So after that, I was just like, you know, I was really, really disappointed about it, you know, and made the decision that, like, you know, I think I'm good with music, you know, and I've always wanted to do acting. So I guess it was like I'm older, and I thought about giving it a shot, you know. And I did put out some other songs with that producer that we originally did with Jeff Tomei, with the first run of Granny Four Barrel songs. You know, we did a couple other songs too that featured Waylon Rivas from, you know, Mushroom Head, and the current band now is A Killer's Confession. I actually have a couple songs that I got that he's done. But, you know, I really still wasn't into doing too much with bands or going on tour again and anything like that. I really wanted to focus on trying to do acting, you know, so that's what I did. I took some acting classes back in New York. I did a couple indie films, and I did a HBO.
I feel like I remember one of your indie films popping up. Like it was like a horror thing. It was like, I don't know why I want to say Halloween-y time or something, Halloween-y, like a Halloween-ish time, not like actual like Halloween-y time, but I feel like it was around that time or something. It was years ago. I keep seeing you like pop up through my feed, and every time I see you pop up, you've like reinvented yourself, and I am so impressed with the fluidity of that. And I'm just kind of like watching, and I'm like, you understand the assignment. You cannot stay stagnant, especially in New York, ever. No. You can't be a stick. You have to be a bush. You have to have your hands in multiple things. You just can't. And I don't think a lot of people understand too, you know, yes, touring's wonderful as a musician and everything else, but especially if you have kids, there's a lot that goes into it. Or if you have animals, or if you have so much else in your life, the concept of being on the road all the time. I love traveling. My kids come to all kinds of stuff with me. I love that. But if I could just go for a week, come back, it'd be great. So in order, especially in the beginning stages of bands, like the amount of travel is insane. So, and transitioning from, especially, there isn't that big of a gap between portraying a stage presence and going into acting. Now, it's a matter of like jumping between rocks at like a creek. Is the rock covered in moss? The person sucks eats shit and falls in the water? Or do they land on the rock and they do okay? And it seems as though, like, because I've been following in a non-creepy, I swear to God, please don't get a restraining order kind of way. I've been following your career a bit. And like, you just went to Arizona, like you even had talked on the phone, and you said you went to Arizona for like an award show. I don't know whether you won or not, because in my mind, the ideology that you even got invited is celebratory and winning enough. Like,
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, the film itself was up for best suspense thriller, and actually, so was Tara Reid was there, and her movie was up for best suspense and best actor. So we were joking around, for like 3 days, just hanging out, and she was like, "I think you're gonna win. I want you to win." And I was like, "Nah, I think you. I'd rather have you win." And she was like, "I want to win too, but I think you're gonna win." And it was just like this constant banter. It was fun joking around, and she ended up winning for the best suspense thriller and for the best actor. And I'm happy for her because she went from, everyone knows her American Pie, so
yeah.
American Pie and then the Sharknadoes. So this movie, she put a lot of heart into it, and she was proud, and I think me being new, I'll have more opportunities to get an award. I keep pursuing what I'm doing, and I think she's done that, and I think it's just it's wonderful that she was able to get those awards. So I am happy. I am happy for her though. She's really cool.
It's great to win an award, but it's also the concept of being given the recognition of a nomination.
Oh yeah.
And it's almost like, okay, the gold is winning the award, but then the silver is actually being nominated, because that means that you conjured up enough attention for someone to consider it. And consideration is the highest form of adoration in my mind. So like, if someone's considering your feelings, if someone's considering your work, if someone's considering doing this for you, it is a signaling that they're like, you're doing good things. This is what I want to be a part of, and that we're watching you. And I mean, not in the creepy way, obviously, but the fact of, the matter is anybody in the entertainment industry wants their career to be watched, whether it's, on a small scale where they're working up. And, a lot of people don't realize it until they are further up, like where you are or anybody else. And they look back and they go, you know what? I really did appreciate those little tiny gestures where it was the consistent person who was showing up, the consistent person who's liking the post. They're noticing, they're giving you that adequate, representation, or upkeeping those internet bios based on your work. Like, people don't, it's weird to me sometimes. Like when someone's like, I updated information about you on my website. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean? They're like, I saw the thing about the stuff and I saw what you did and I da-da-da. And I'm like, it's a little uncomfortable, but thank you, and at this, but then after about 30 minutes elapses and imposter syndrome sits down, you're kind of like, that's super flattering.
Keep listening for the next part of my conversation with Brandon.
Visit www.whoischristineanyway.com for access to all the social media links and additional podcast episodes.